Hi there, I'm Amy Griffiths and I'm one of the journalists in Manx Radio's newsroom, and you're listening to Newscast.
Hi, it's Andrea Rivers.
We're at this pop-up event presenting the consultation for the Living Streets for Castletown. What kind of reception have you had so far?
It's been mixed reviews. We've had actually positive, we've had some good suggestions, and we've also, with anything we do, we'll have a negative as well. What we've come today and last week was a blank canvas. So actually the residents, businesses within Castletown can actually tell us what they want or what they don't want. So we haven't come up with any decisions. We want to get the feedback from everybody, and I think we've had over 200 responses so far. From what I've looked at, they are a difference of opinion. We noted that there's a lot of accessibility issues for those with mobility issues. So wheelchairs, prams is to be dealt with. So generally speaking, we're still early in the days. We can't actually have reviewed all the decisions. But I appreciate people taking the time to come in with their positivity and also their criticism to the way things are done, because that's also how we can learn to improve going forward. So it's great from both angles.
And why is this a scheme that's being considered now?
This has actually been on the back burner for about 4 years now. The department were approached to look at improving commuter traffic, to stop commuter traffic going through the narrow streets within Castletown. They were asked us to look at maybe improving parking situations and basically the amenity of the village, or of the town, should I say, sorry. So it was a big scheme to look at individually, one street over another. So we came as the department to say we'll look at the whole of the area. And we're doing more schemes like this across the island, because we've done the Ballacameen one that we've worked on. So it's not specific to Castletown, and there's future schemes that we want to look at as well, such as Pulrose and Annika. So it's actually improved the amenity of the village for the community. So it's 4 years in the pipeline that they approached us. We've actually had the officers to be able to do it now. We've had the resources to do it, and so we're just actually gauging the views of what the public want.
And it, of course, will be subject to funding, no matter what the result of the consultation is or what the feedback from the consultation is. Given the current political climate and economic situation, a lot of people are saying, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And also, we have better places to be investing money into. So what do you say to that?
I totally agree that, funding is of an issue, and as such, what we're doing was actually looking at what is needed. So we're not looking at the Rolls-Royce schemes. We're actually looking at the basics, like improving accessibility, improving bus stop improvements, making it safe. We're not asking, or we're not inventing a huge project. It's not a glorified project. It's what will aid the community. Making some roads one way is maybe a very cheap solution, but if it actually works, and by doing that we increase parking for residents, I think that is seen as a positive. So it's actually listening to what, again, I keep saying it's listening to what the people want. But we have to be very, very mindful that there's a lot of people within Castletown, a lot of visitors that come to Castletown from abroad and in wheelchairs, who do have issues getting around, and we need to address this whether this scheme was to go ahead or not, because we have to make sure it's safe for everybody.
So anybody wanting to have their voice heard, how can they do that? Right,
we've got a consultation going on the consultation hub, which is the Castletown Living Streets. They can email me directly, they can telephone me, and we've had 2 drop-in sessions. There is also maybe a drop-in session planned for an evening one in the new year. So there's various ways they can get in touch and have their views. I mean, we're all very approachable. We will listen and we'll take on board what they have to say, because at the end of the day, these are the people that live here. They know what they want. They know where the problems are, and they know how we can fix it. So we're here to try and address that.
What are your thoughts about the plans that are being presented today?
Well, I'm not really sure what the plans are, because they haven't really told us. All we've heard so far is vague statements about wanting to make it easier to walk about, which, it sounds nice, from one point of view, but I can't help wondering if there's another agenda there, because what would really make it easier for people to walk about here is if they were to actually do something about resurfacing the terrible state of the roads, all the way up Maloo Street, for instance, from the town centre right up to the top. I don't know how people with mobility issues can manage, because it's not possible to walk along the pavement all the way into town. It's not the traffic, it's the problem, it's the state of the roads, and they need to sort that out before they start thinking about grand schemes about encouraging people to walk around more. I think many people do walk around here. What we need are safe, well-maintained roads. So DOI, please get your act together.
I think there does seem to, as you say, to be a focus on pedestrianising and to try and make things more accessible. In terms of here in the town centre, what do you think, apart from the resurfacing, would be the best ways of doing that?
Well, I don't think it needs to be pedestrianised. I think we have a fair amount of pedestrianisation within the town centre. But going further out basically creates greater problems, because parking is necessary. People don't all live in Castletown. They need to drive around. And there are people that don't have the luxury of their own driveways, car parking spots, as you'd expect in a historic town that was built before most people had motor cars. So what's needed to encourage people to walk is a safer surface to walk on. I must admit the talk of pedestrianisation worries me a little bit, because there are people who need their cars to get around. People do need to use the cars to get from place to place, especially people with mobility issues. And I think most people who live in Castletown going into the town centre, most of us do walk. So I think there's a problem being created that doesn't exist when we do have a problem, which is the terrible state of the roads.
And I suppose one thing as well is actually when you're in the town centre, you see empty business after empty business, and do you think that maybe that should be the focus of trying to attract and encourage new business to thrive here?
Oh, most definitely. It really grieves me because this is the historic capital of the island, and to see so many businesses going out. We've lost our butcher in the last year, which is a really heavy loss. And seeing local businesses struggle as much as they can. They've struggled a little bit. I know some businesses think that the pedestrianisation of the square in the summer has hit their business. And I've got no opinion on that, but what really does worry me is the way it was then just announced without any kind of consultation that the square will be closed off to traffic throughout the winter as well. That really does worry me. But yeah, we need to focus more on how to encourage business, and driving motorists away from other towns is not the way to encourage business in our wonderful historic capital.
Former MHK and former Minister Richard Ronan, what are your thoughts on what's being presented today?
Well, I'm grateful it's been put on. I know there was one last week as well. Just really trying to get to the bones of actually why they're trying to propose such fundamental change in Castletown, probably in a time when we don't need this. So certainly understanding that this has been driven by the commissioners. This was 4 years ago, which I found out today. The department have spent this time coming up with these proposals. It's been on the internet, getting brochures and leaflets today, which is all very good. So yeah, I think I'm a little bit I'll say perplexed about why they want to do this now. You know, there's bigger fish on here. There's bigger things to do around Castletown, the island as well.
And it is subject to funding as well, so there's no guarantee that whatever comes out of the consultation will actually happen in the near future as well. So do you kind of feel like it's maybe jumping the gun slightly?
I think you just said it there, the consultation that's happening now. Okay, when we did the regeneration work, the regeneration structures that were put in place were very, very rigorous, centrally driven by the Council of Ministers. Committees were set up all over the island with very, very strict guidelines on how them committees would work and how you would then get your designs and then initially go to funding. I would suggest that this living streets idea that they have here now is actually bigger than the regeneration works, because it's going to impact people's lives much, much more than the regeneration works in Castletown. It's going to impact everybody. Now, I would strongly suggest, instead of doing this paper exercise and then just maybe in a year's time landing with Kango hammers around the town, that's when people will stir. I would strongly suggest we go back to an idea where we set up a subcommittee in the town with relevant parties, businesses, groups in the town who have a strong idea, who are going to be here a long, long time after any board of the commissioners. I fully appreciate the commissioners have to make decisions, but in fairness, they have. They've already made this decision. They've said, can you go and look at this? This is going to impact so many people. I can see now it's at a very, very delicate stage here now.
And well, what do you feel like the future of Castletown should be then, if not this?
Well, certainly I think Castletown and any town around the Isle of Man and around the world should be as sustainable as it can be. Castletown, again, like any town, is struggling at the minute with business and retail. I can't see any justification in making fundamental changes to the flow of Castletown right now. It's been here forever. I'm not against change, because I was a bit of a change agent myself. But honestly, I just can't see the reasoning, the rationale, why we would want to do this now. And I think, this is having to go to Treasury, going to have to go to funding. When really, if you ran a straw poll of the people of Castletown and say, where would you want your money go? To build Castle Rushen High School, to fund the health service, or make the street one way and spend £500,000 on that? I know what the answer would be. It works as it is. There's bigger issues to fry in regards to how our town's going to work in the future, not how people are going to move around the town. We're not Bratislava. We're not London. We're Castletown. We're 3,500 people. Not even that. Castletown's population has been more or less stagnant since the war. We don't really need fundamental change here.
Is it enough to tempt you back into politics, do you think?
At this current moment in time, I'm busy at work, but this last few months has been very interesting. What has pleased me is the people of Castletown are starting to stand up. The people of Castletown are good people. They're really hard working. I think it's like a lot of places. If you poke a stick at somebody, the bear will rise, and I think you're seeing this in Castletown right now.
Well, the turnout's great. I mean, it's been really busy all afternoon. Like I say, the last sort of half an hour that I've been here, it's been very busy. And so, do you think that's a good sign in itself?
Well, you've got to ask why. Because people are starting to talk again. Certainly, what's happened with the Market Square and the way decisions are being made, people are talking again. They may not be going to the pubs like they used to be, they may not be meeting in the shops like they used to be, but people are talking again. And that's a really good thing. That's a healthy democracy, and that's what Castletown is all about.
Steve Crowther, you stood in this constituency in the last election, didn't
Absolutely,
you?
yeah.
And you're here to look at the plans today. What are your thoughts so far?
I think the initial feeling is that, I know Andrew's introducing it today, and I think that the base comment is that there isn't the awareness, and that's now becoming apparent because of these presentations. And I think the comment is it's already been running a month. So what Andrew is saying is I think they need to extend it another month after January, because that will make the time for people to pick up within the community that there is big changes, and some of those could be beneficial, some of them need input, and I think now's our time to respond and really for people to pick up on the reality of what could be coming.
And a lot of people have been speaking to me and sharing their discontent, shall we say, about the plans. And do you feel like people's concerns are being listened to?
Well, I think my answer to your question has just been stated, really. I think we're a month down the line, and I don't think a lot of people have picked up that there is potential change. So those people in the community who perhaps pick up a little bit more on the local network are beginning to understand that there is something here. So again, it's really important now that I don't think everybody is aware, and now is the time we need to put our feedback into it, because if we do, then I think there's an awful lot to consider, and it's right that if government do want to look at this comprehensively, because we've been told it's quite a considerably comprehensive review for the town right up to its boundary, which is important because we've got a lot of things coming at the moment. For example, if we build the roundabout at Ballasalla, people haven't thought that actually that's going to direct a lot of traffic through Victoria Road. So there's a lot of other little things on the outside of the town that are going to have an impact, and I'd like to think that people have all put their input into that equation. I have spoken to a number of the stakeholders, the retail outlets and others in the square, and I think there's a hit and miss of whether people like some of the ideas, but we need it all pulling together because there has been a sort of urban spaces review, and there's also this now which is a traffic review, and it would be really nice to think that they were put together so that we could have a comprehensive review and that it's over a little longer period so that we can get the right input and the right evaluation. There are a number of facilities at the moment which have potential which are not being used, and I'd like to know where they're going to end up, not just a one-way street or whatever,
So how do you think the Castletown should look then in the years to come, and how do you think it's going to attract new businesses to the town and footfall and people to come here in a real visitor destination?
Well, let's just take a step back to answer that question. I think if when the square was first altered, there was quite a lot of agitation about it. But that's now beginning to sit with us. People see the merits, the lighting, and it's been used more. And the local authority have worked to try and help that. But we lost one or two retail outlets, such as the Secret Pizza, and they were really having a pull into the town, plus Compton Vaults. So those were examples of things that went, and then they're not being replaced, and we do need, to generate. See, that income, and certainly I'm saying it, as I said at the last election, across the island, there is a bit of Douglas-centric thinking because actually Peel, Ramsey, Port Erin, and Castletown are trying to do their own initiatives after the regeneration. Key word there was regeneration, and it's floundered because we are not really seeing that. Really thought through process. I believe that honestly the outside towns could be putting an awful lot more money into the Isle of Man coffers if we thought them through properly. So let's see if this is a real chance. For me, this would be a good example, wouldn't it, as a good starting point to see, can we now pull together some of the reviews that have been done about the town and this evaluation and put it together into a more comprehensive review? And then let's see if the townsfolk think, well, actually, we feel that you've listened, and we think not everyone's ever going to agree on everything, sure, but there is an awful lot that needs doing. And one other thing to add to that is a school, which is still sat here after I stood in the 2016 election and going nowhere. And that would comprehensively affect the traffic too. So there we are. We would like to see this town offering so much more for its community, and also what that would do for the finances in the Isle of Man, which appear to be a withering vine at the moment. So all hands to the pump, I'd say.
And the countdown to the next election's now on. Is it something that you're considering?
Lots of things to consider about that. I am getting a bit older, so we'll have to see. And also, let's see, about where things are going to stand. There's an awful lot happened internationally, and I do think that the Isle of Man needs to ready itself. So I'll have to see if I have the right input at that time.
My name's Helen Lee. I'm a Castletown resident. I'm also a Blue Badge Guide for the Isle of Man. So I see Castletown at my own personal local level as being, a participant of the town, but I'm also very proud to show a lot of visitors around to our beautiful Georgian Square.
And you're standing here clutching a bright pink clipboard with a petition on it that is actually in favour of pedestrianising the Castletown Square. So tell me why.
Really, because I think in all fairness, there are people who have a view other than closing it for cars, and I think that there should be an opportunity to sign up if you would like the square permanently pedestrianised. So in the interests of democracy, apart from whatever I think myself, going around. But I do literally just have to go round and say to people, do you have an opinion on the square? Would you be prepared to sign this petition for permanently pedestrianising it? And getting a lot of positive responses, I have to say. There are quite a few people. But I haven't got the opportunity to put this petition into shops and this sort of thing, so it is quite difficult to just get the sheer numbers. But from the people I've spoken to so far, I'm very pleasantly surprised by how many people would like to see it permanently closed.
And we're here today talking about the Living Streets concept and getting views about that. So what do you think of the proposals that are being floated and the ideas that are being presented?
Well, I understand that the DOI have come here with a completely blank canvas. They are just trying to find out from people whether they feel safe as pedestrians or car drivers or cyclists or whatever. Then they don't have a loaded agenda. They're not asking about one-way systems or anything like that. They're just getting feedback. I personally would like them to broaden their remit, because Castletown is probably the number one tourist venue on the island, and I have the privilege of guiding a lot of people around town, and I would like to see a lot more facilities for the visitors that come to Castletown. So personally, I would like to see a one-way system. That would make it a lot easier if you're bringing people in. I'd also like to see a lot more consideration to coach facilities, toilet facilities and signage. You try and find your way to the entrance of the castle if you've been dropped off in Farrant's Way. So there's a lot that Castletown could do. So the remit that we've got here is quite narrow. It is for residents of Castletown. I would like them to broaden it out a little bit.
And there have been a lot of people voicing really big concerns about these perceived plans. Do you feel like people are maybe rushing to conclusions maybe a little bit quickly about what the plans for Castletown from government actually are?
I don't think my understanding is that government at the moment is just fact collecting. I don't think they have got prescribed ideas. I think that is being fed by certain people in the town that this is the way it's going. I don't think there's any evidence that it is. But from the information they're gaining now, my understanding is they're going to put forward some proposals and we'll take it from there. Yeah.
If you could paint a picture of your perfect Castletown, what would it look like?
My perfect Castletown, I love the square as it is. I would like to see it just as an urban space and just treasuring it for that so that we can appreciate the heritage around us, whether it's the castle or the sundial or the George or, that sort of thing. I would like to see less traffic going through town so that we can respect the integrity of Castletown, and just advertising some of the walks that we have from the town. I mean, it is beautiful, in any direction we can go out into the countryside. So that would be a lot more information about what is in town and what is just outside town, yes.
I'm not impressed at all. We're not seeing anything. All we have is a few little handouts which infer that there's going to be one-way streets, which is ludicrous in Castletown. It will turn into a racetrack, as was proven when they were doing the post office and it was one way. They were coming up there, it was dangerous. There's pinch points there. Traffic is slowed naturally in Castletown, and you start to annex places, you're going to have a big problem with footfall in Castletown. So we're going to, depending where they propose to, one way. I think the Crofts is on the agenda. That will be a racetrack cutting through there. They're talking about people taking shortcuts now. That will be one, and it will be dangerous. They're inferring that by the old post office police station could be one way, another nightmare area. So I don't know what they're trying to do, but from a resident of Castletown, there's nothing broken. Why do you want to fix it? Or why do you infer it needs fixing? Because it doesn't.
And there does seem to be a shift towards wanting to pedestrianise more areas. So you're looking at the square. I mean, that's been a hot topic as well. And do you think some of it is to try and incentivise people to not be driving around Castletown and actually you should be looking at other modes of transport? Do you think that's maybe sort of part of it, and would be what are your thoughts on that?
Well, Castletown has roughly 4,000 people here. We don't have a footfall that generates a retail business or even these harebrained schemes of having these pedestrianised areas. We don't have the footfall. We need to bring people into the centre of town. We need to allow the older people to be able to park close to the facilities in the winter, because it is a nightmare. And we've seen, you've probably seen it, the empty squares every afternoon. So I would have to say as well, I am the one that put the requisition for the public meeting. So yes, the one thing about Castletown is a very tight-knit community, and it always has been. The people need to be heard, and this is not listening to the people. I've just listened to some narrative, and not one time has someone said there will be a public consultation, and that is key. The two reports that have been done previously, which are not out of date, there's the Sewell report and the Amy report, one on retail, one on parking. They're still relevant now. They have been done, 10 years ago, but nothing fundamentally has changed in Castletown. Money has been spent on those, and here we are spending more money. So, it seems ludicrous.
And I suppose you could argue that this is meant to be the consultation period, so this is them presenting their plans. There is the live consultation on at the moment about living streets for Castletown. If this isn't the way to go, what do you think would be the solution?
I think people are going to have their views. This consultation, is it taking those views, or are they taking the views they want? I don't know. Maybe I'm just being a little bit cynical, but you go to a public consultation where everyone is invited, and the proposals have show of hands, and you can take the show of hands as the mandate for either doing something or shelving it. And it's interesting, you read the article that was in the newspapers about the first consultation that they ran, and it says if the government has funding. Well, why would you want to fund this when there are significant things that government need to fund to give the whole island benefit? Like I said at the start, this isn't broken. Why do you need to spend money to fix something that isn't broken?
Thank you for making it to the end of the Manx Radio Newscast. You are obviously someone with exquisite taste. May I politely suggest you might want to subscribe to this and a wide range of Manx Radio podcasts at your favourite podcast provider, so our best bits will magically appear on your smartphone. Thank you.